When it was announced that Steven Spielberg, yes, the Steven Spielberg, would be adapting Ernest Cline's holy grail of pop culture, not my words, into a feature-length movie, the news was met with a weird amount of resistance.
Sure, the book isn't to everyone's tastes. But having seen Ready Player One, I can honestly say that the movie is actually pretty good. It's certainly not the best written film I've ever seen. I think at one point Wade actually says the sentence, "A fanboy knows a hater when they see one," which honestly made me cringe into oblivion. But overall, Ready Player One is just really bloody fun.
Here's 5 reasons why you should watch Ready Player One. Well, sure, it wouldn't be Ready Player One if it wasn't absolutely stuffed to bursting with pop culture references.
And I'll be honest, that was one of my biggest gripes with the book. Ernest Cline's writing is less prose and more Wikipedia list article. I devoured each of what Halliday referred to as the Holy Trilogies, Star Wars, original and prequel trilogies in that order, Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, Mad Max, Back to the Future, and Indie.
See what I mean? At least in the film, the references are handled in a much less, shall we say, obnoxious way.
Sure, at times, the Iron Giant will take up the whole screen. Of course, there's a car chase in a DeLorean, and there are some absolute clangers of name drops to ensure that you get that it's a pop culture reference. But for the most part, the references are just part of the world. They're a poster on the wall, it's someone's t-shirt, or just a character walking into shot. As Spielberg himself says, the side windows are for cultural references, the windshield is for the story. A lot of references may pass you by, in fact, they absolutely will, there's so many of them, but for the most part, they're fully ingrained into Ready Player One's world in a believable and authentic way. And it's genuinely a joy when you spot an obscure as hell throwaway reference.
Ready Player One the film is massively different to Ready Player One the book, and let's be real here, thank God for that.
Not only are the pop culture references handled in a much better way, and the frankly weird, stalking subplot got cut and replaced with a more traditional love story, crucially, the story of Ready Player One underwent a lot of much needed changes. Specifically, the whole plot got changed. Take Halliday's challenges, for example. In the book, they were very 80s video game focused, like playing Dungeons of Daggeroth, defeating someone at Joust, or getting a perfect run on Pac-Man to score an extra life. And certainly while there's fun to be had there, it's not exactly bombastic cinema fare, is it?
Let's face it, you could just watch people run these games on Twitch.
Zach Penn and Ernest Cline have taken the nostalgia-laden framework of Cline's original novel and turned it into something much more exciting to watch. Switching up these challenges, raising the stakes, and actually bringing the characters together in the real world, not just together in the OASIS, just makes for a more human connection, a much better story, and as a result, a fun film.
A common criticism of the book of Ready Player One is that if you stripped away all the pop culture references and nostalgia, there'd be nothing of substance left. Luckily for the film, that's not the case. There are, however, still some dodgy bits, there's some bad dialogue and woefully underdeveloped characters, but at the end of the day, it's a very fun story and it's actually a lot more heartfelt than you might think. You know when a movie kicks things off with Van Halen's Jump that it means business, and Ready Player One's soundtrack is so full of earworms that it might just rival Guardians of the Galaxy. Big words, I know.
But seriously, not only does it deliver banger after banger, including hits by Joan Jett, the Bee Gees, and my personal favourites, Hall & Oates. The main score also manages to make you feel like a kid again. It's composed by Alan Silvestri, who you'll know as the composer behind The Avengers, Lilo and Stitch, and of course, one of the best and most iconic movie themes of all time, Back to the Future.
There's also an incredible use of one of the most iconic movie scores of all time. Now, it's used in a scene which is a giant homage to one of my favourite movies, one of the greatest movies ever made, and the music is used so effectively that I actually got goosebumps. So there. Given that most of the movie takes place in the virtual world of the Oasis, it was crucial that they got that right, and for the most part, they really did.
Specifically, the look of the place. The Oasis is a fantasy land where anything you dream of can be a virtual reality. And it was crucial that the movie got that feeling of endless possibility right. And sadly, while we don't have Star Wars World or Star Trek World to hunt around in, there are stunning locations like a transforming city that houses a drag race, a zero-gravity discotheque, and a pretty perfect recreation of one of the most famous movie locations of all time. Not only that, but the characters' avatars, which could have aired on the Uncanny Valley side, actually look really good and full of personality and charm. Sure, there are some inconsistencies with the Oasis, like if you die, you lose your stuff logic. That's a bit weird. Surely there would be some way to store your stuff online, like in every online video game ever. And there don't seem to be any set rules on when and where you can be attacked by others, which is different from the book. But that's just nitpicking. The Oasis is a place I want to go to.
Steven Spielberg is one of, if not the greatest movie director of all time. The impact his films have had on the lives of millions of people cannot be questioned, and I genuinely think only he could have pulled this off.
Ready Player One could have been an absolute mess, but Spielberg made some very smart decisions when he was bringing it to the screen. For example, the book is mostly focused around video game nostalgia. It's overflowing with it. But after taking on the project, Spielberg, a huge gamer himself, realized that if he kept true to that, he would alienate those who didn't play games. What he came up with is a movie that references comics, movies, music, and video games, and smartly balances the lot with a deft touch. Ready Player One is far from perfect, okay? But it's still full of charm. It's a classic hero story with a great nefarious villain, an adorable love story, and it's absolutely steeped in nostalgia. And that's why I think it's totally worth watching.
So those were my 5 reasons to go check out Ready Player One. Let me know what you think of the movie in the comments box below, or come find me on Twitter. I'm at LucyJamesGames. For more on Ready Player One and other awesome things like Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, Lost, Legion. I'm sounding like Ernest Klein here, I'll stop. Make sure to subscribe to GameSpot Universe, and I'll see you in the Oasis.